I'm Katy Perry's music director, and I'm not involved with the making of the album, the songs. It's just when the songs are done, I arrange things for live. I've been working with her for maybe 7.5 years. I'll do her tours, we'll do promo, and then one-offs or special occasions like this. I won't bore you with all of me trying to get the parts correct. I'll just sort of go section by section and talk through how I approach arranging a song like this. And there's no live band, so I'm making everything here, and then Katy sings live, and that's it. So it's just a track, her singing, and then on the day she'll have a click in her ear and a cue in her ear, which would be my voice counting her into the sections. So everything that you hear likely will have been made right here, except for the singing. You know, I've done probably dozens of versions of this song, if not tens of dozens of versions of this song. It can be hard to think of new ideas, but the good thing about this song is that it's a good song. There's a good melody, and you can kind of put it in any style and any tempo, and it works. So that's the test of a good song. 10 years is a big difference in how things were produced. So things that were done this year versus 10 years ago, I have to kind of make them all sound similar. I think it's smart for arranging to start with just the melody and an instrument, so either guitar or piano. I've found always, for me, if I start with piano and I get it sounding right here, even if I have to make production changes and stuff, then the actual arrangement doesn't change that much. Also, know the melody. That's the verse, and I had it in minor. So the song is in A flat, so I was playing it in F minor. You get it. I started earlier this morning, and I was doing a different version that was kind of moodier, but actually the day I'm filming this is the day that these idiots are storming the Capitol. So that's what felt all wrong now after this mess today. Now I'm going back to major. The whole song is just 4 chords over and over again, primarily. But it has a really interesting melody because the melody sits on the 9 of the chord. So harmonically, there's a lot of things you can do with it. So what I'm going to do is put this back in A flat, back in major. I'm just going to play it as a 1-4-5. So it'd be A flat, D flat, E flat. Except I'm going to put the thirds on the bottom. Do you ever feel like sorry about my singing. Something I don't know. She'll probably want to rest apart. So that's the idea for the first part of it. That's all halftime, and then the next time through, I'll probably go a different chord here. So that movement up top, that's what the original strings used to do, so I'm just putting that now into the piano. They're going dun 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 dun. I'm doing it in halftime. Now I'm at the pre-chorus. You just gotta ignite. Now I'm gonna use the minor 5 chord. I love that chord. So going into pre-chorus. You just gotta ignite. Something like that. Now the original chord progression. So that's how I approach things at first. Always know the melody. I'm singing the melody in my head and poorly out loud. And I'm thinking through, like in the pre-chorus, this minor 5 chord. Her melody is the 6. And I'm playing this chord, so I have to move some voicings around as the melody moves. If it works here, I know it's going to work in every version I'm going to do of it with synths and strings. So now I just have to sit with it. I have to record it. I have to record the piano correctly. Now I'm going to fill in some orchestral stuff. I finished the first intro and the first verse. I went through and started to play in all the orchestra stuff, the strings. I like a contact library by Project Sam Orchestral Essentials. That's kind of like their, you get a little bit of everything in their libraries. But I've been using this one for years, and it's awesome. It gets a little thick, so you have to record the low and the mid and the high stuff separately usually, and then EQ them. I will probably end up mixing this. I'm mixing as I go along, which takes a little bit more time, but it's really helpful if you, I mean, if you can mix, learn how to mix. Here's another thing I'll say. You don't need a bunch of stuff to arrange. You know, I could do this, essentially this sort of arranging what I did at first with just a piano and a voice memo maybe, or a tape recorder. It helps to have some stuff to sort of fill out the arrangement, but you know, a couple contact libraries and an instrument, and then you're kind of good to go. Of course, you know, I say that sometimes it's frustrating when you see these videos and it's someone like me going, well, you don't need a bunch of stuff, and then you get this room full of a bunch of stuff. If you're going to fill something out, it starts to help to be able to play all these things, but just to be a good arranger, you don't necessarily need to have all this stuff. And conversely, sometimes if you have a bunch of stuff but you don't have any ideas, you're in worse shape. It's better to just learn the craft. I'll show you what I did. So I basically put in these strings, this little high tremolo string, some low orchestra. Oh yeah, setting the stage. And that's all this Project Sam stuff. I mean, listen to this thing. You can do all the mellow. I mean, and then you can do all this. It's awesome. My grandpa was an orchestrator and a copyist, and he's probably rolling in his grave with me just being able to put my hands down and make sounds like that. So anyway, this is a big shortcut. I could still do that if I had to. Anyway, filled it all in here. I got a piano that works. I played it in. Do you ever feel like a plastic bed? All this stuff. It's just pedaling, just normal arranging stuff. I put in a bunch of cymbal swells and timpani swells and stuff. You know. Pre-chorus. A bunch of these sort of different things. Harp. I mean, who doesn't love harp? Some of these ARP string things. I used a Spitfire library, I think, for that because it has a little better attack. So anyway, I'm kind of up to the first chorus. I think what's going to be happening now, they're probably going to start unloading Fireworks. I've had a moment with Katy, probably. I've heard she will probably be at the Lincoln Memorial. This is probably where it starts to really explode, and she really puts the hammer down here vocally too, so I need to like make the arrangement has to really swell behind her because she's probably going to go for the big note. It's a high note to hit, this high E flat. I got through the first chorus. All I did was fill it out with a bunch of orchestral stuff. More of this Project Sam. Just layered a ton of that on to support her. And just high, mid, low. The other thing that's in there is an 808, a playable 808. I use, this is a contact library called 808 Warfare. And this I already had in the session from another version I'd done before. If you're doing something for TV and there's 808 bass, I would recommend, you don't have to do it, you can do whatever you want, but I would recommend also making another 808 track that's an octave higher and layering that in with it, sort of underneath the low 808, because most people's TV speakers won't pick up that low 808. It'll hear the click, but it won't hear the note. And you hear that all the time on award shows where it's like, why does that song sound weird? It's because you can't hear the low, the fundamental, the lowest note, because it's an 808 bass, which most songs are 808 basses now. Or don't. You don't have to. I'm at the first chorus. Now, it just sounds too orchestral to me, and I want it to tip it a little bit more modern, so I'm going to put in this Prophet 6, the desktop version, and I'm just going to double the bass notes with the big synth, and I'm just pulling up literally patch 0. I put some chorus on here. I adjusted the release time so it's a little short. So all I'm doing is playing octaves. I mean, it's 80s, but I mean, it feels modern to me. I mean, most 80s synths are what we're using for modern music now anyway, or at least 80s sounding synths. So anyway, I just layered that in. It sounds like this sounds like great 80s sci-fi drama movie. Anyway, I'll put that in there. I'll also put that in every chorus after. I find if you just add, not to confuse the terms, if you add chorus to the sound, just a tiny bit on a couple things in the track, it widens everything in a nice way. Even if you don't really hear it, you don't put a lot, just put a little bit. Chorus and the choruses. All right, I'm gonna move on to verse 2. I think it's gonna change there a little bit. I'm done with verse 2 now. When I talked to Katy about this arrangement, she wants this whole thing to grow. It's great working with her. She's always very specific about the direction of it, the creative direction. So she wants this whole thing to just grow, and then become kind of ridiculous at the end. So I don't want the verse 2 to be too big. I kind of want it to come back down, and she's singing low. The song and Katy kind of need to take a back seat to the moment. That's one thing with arranging, is just knowing the context of it. We're at the point now in this evening program where it's more about the country, it's more about the moment. I don't want to use all the arranging bells and whistles now at this point. We kind of did that at the beginning. We did something different. There's a temptation sometimes to do everything because you think you should, and all these reharms in the middle and hits and stops, and that's not really my style, because I feel like it really distracts from what's happening. You know, most people aren't watching this to hear your arranging chops. They just want whatever the music is to elevate the moment. So anyway, I consider it more like scoring. If you realize, you get the kind of a weird feeling like maybe you're doing something that's a little showy when it shouldn't be. There's definitely a time for showy. Tours are a great time for showy. A lot of times these sorts of things are not time for showy, especially when it's a potentially historic moment. So now I'm going to take the arrangement and just kind of set into a gear where we now can kind of grow. So I'm sticking with just the 808s. Here's the second verse. I put some snaps in. I'm sticking with the 808 bass. I had this thing in here. I made this for something and we've never used it. I think I did an arrangement where I had this. It's just this Prophet. It's a little panning Prophet run pad. Number 309, apparently. I put that. Always notate in the comments what patches you're using. Comes in handy if you've got to redo something and match the sound. And then it needed something else to kind of move it along. So I put in some shakers. There's lots of great contact libraries for shakers and tambourines and stuff. I prefer to play them in myself, so you know, I grabbed these shakers, that mic, and just played them in. I double track the shakers, hard pan them. Bob's your uncle. So those are in here like this. Verse 2. So here they are. Shakers. Sure. The thing is, you'll never hear them in the track because it's in the same frequency range as all the Fireworks. So they just kind of will move it along, but you won't actually hear them. And then I think we're going to keep it kind of normal from here on out. I've re-recorded all the string stuff previously for tours, so I'm going to leave all that in here. Here's the second pre-chorus. Sounds kind of like the record. This is also, I take everything faster for live usually. So I think the album is at 120 and we're at 126 for this version. I just always take it faster. So I still have, sounds like an album background vocal in there. What we'll do in the end is we're going to re-record all the background vocals with Katy's two great singers, India and Cherry. I'll probably sing in here a little bit too. You know, once I send it to them, I just send them files and they record at home. You know, some ideas about different things we, you know, add in the arrangement, and then they always, you know, add stuff too. So I'm just gonna do the ending. I think I almost have it done because we're gonna use another version that I've done before. I just kind of have to dial it in for the moment. Okay, I think we have an ending. I'm not sure if we've done this ending for tour or something else. I think this was for the end of the last tour. This is always the, you know, the finale. So just sort of going full Epcot. And what it is, it's sort of an homage to a Samuel Barber piece. I listen to a lot of classical music. If you need to just, if you're desperate for ideas and you need to rip something off, it's pretty inspiring. You know, I don't recommend directly ripping anything off, but it'll just open your mind to harmonic things. If you don't already listen to classical music, you know, give it a go. I like the 20th century, you know, the Philip Glass and the Barbers and Ives, and it just is kind of mind expanding and arrangement expanding too. Dialed in the end a little bit, put in some crashes. I recorded some crashes back there on my kit, but it wasn't great, so I pulled in Sterloid samples. Thanks, Aaron. There's a lot going on here. I mean, I don't know if you could see the screen how much tracks. This is what, 80 tracks ish, something like that maybe, but there's a lot going on. It's probably what's happening is they're blowing up every firework that they have. So just go through, put a ton of white noise, bombs and sizzles and all these sweeps up and sweeps down. A lot of this kind of nonsense. A lot of that. A lot of things that sound like fireworks exploding. All this stuff. Oh yeah. Rising and falling in every hit. I think I probably need to put some guitars and some other real bass in this. And then it'll be just sending it to Katy now tonight. We'll get notes from her on it. We'll go back and forth. The buck stops with her. So that's at the point when arrangement wise you have to make sure you have no ego, because sometimes you'll get notes back that you think, oh man, but that's really cool. I've found almost 100% of the time when I've taken a note from an artist or working on a TV commercial or something like that, they have a much better perspective on it than I do. Even if something I do I think is cool, if they say, oh, let's try something a little different there, in the end, almost 100% of the time, I think I've looked back and said, oh, that was the right move. So be open to notes, check your ego, but, you know, present your ideas the best you can. And when you have a chance to kind of go for it, just, you know, go for it. Again, you know, everyone does things their own way. So this is just my way of doing it. We might end up recording this, like I said, with an orchestra. Make sure when you're playing in orchestra parts, don't take this advice if you don't want to, but this is what I would say. Make sure that the part writing is correct. Don't play things in ranges that an instrument can't play. You know, strings don't need to take a breath, so string parts can keep going. But if there's anything that involves a wind instrument, they've got to breathe somewhere. And if you hand in your session to an orchestrator, you don't want them coming back and going, what are you doing here? You know, this is not even playable. It's not going to sound anything like this. I've had that happen a couple times, so I'm just saying that you don't want to have to go back and redo all your work. If you need to know about part writing and correct ranges of instruments, there's tons of resources online. A lot of this comes down to just learning the craft the best you can. I'll be there in the truck. I'm just there hanging on for dear life in case, you know, something happens. It's live TV, so it can be a little nerve-wracking with singing and live TV, so I'm excited about it.